Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Dr. Levi with your show, The Dr. Levi Show. Today is July 13th, 2016. Absolutely beautiful day here in Los Angeles. So I know and believe that wherever you are right now, today, you're making it a good day. You know, I think it's so easy to live in that place of what I call ever expanding gratitude, knowing that every day is a gift and that your beingness, the reason that you're here, is not by mistake, but it's really by divine plan, divine circumstance, and that the world, the universe, is really conspiring for your greater good. Excuse me. So I want you to believe that, and I want you to feel good about you and feel good about your life, whatever you decide to do with your life. It's you with you, not you against the world, not you against yourself. It's you with you. So many things going on in the world right now, especially here in the United States with respect to race relationships and so many people being killed. Um, so I want to address that today, and because I think it has to be addressed, you know, for myself as a man of color, as an African American man, I think it's so important that we do talk about race. So I want to do that, and before I do that, though, I want to say today is another amazing day that. Britain will get a woman, another woman, as their prime minister, which is Theresa May. You know, if you can remember, the last time this happened, I believe, was in 1979 through 1990 with Margaret Thatcher, if I'm not mistaken. So you got to think we have Theresa May there, possibly Hillary Clinton here in the United States, and then in Germany you have Angela Merkel. So you have all of these women in great power. So if you think about it, women will truly rule the world. And I think that can only make the world a better place. That's what I can only say. Hopefully that'll make things even better. So to Theresa May, with the UK drama that she has to deal with Brexit, you know, I wish her the best. I really do. Now, let's talk about race relationships here. It's always it's a daunting task to talk about race and to talk about how we treat each other as human beings because of the color of our skin, because of the amount of melanin in our skin. So I want to say the following, and that is, all lives matter. Again, I want to say it again here. All lives matter. And, you know, I feel so horrible about the tragedy that happened in Texas with all those officers that were slaughtered and other people that were hurt and injured. Law enforcement is a very tough job. I have the highest regard and the highest respect for them because those women and men, they're like veterans to me. They're the highest order of heroes in the world, because their families see them in the morning when they walk out to go to work, but they don't know if they're coming back later that night. No one knows that. So I think it's so important that we value what they do. And I do have to say, they're good officers and there are officers that are not so good. There are good people and there are also people who are not so good. It's whatever you choose to do with your life, whoever you choose to be. Do you choose to uphold the light and the righteousness and the good, or do you prefer to walk in the shadows of dishonesty and hatred and bigotry and racism and sexism and weightism and ageism? You know, we all have a choice. And I'm believing and hoping that this show, the Dr. Levi Show, is a show that's about reminding us that as we make strategic choices in our lives, they will impact everything in our life. Why? Because with every choice that we make, there's always a consequence. So choose the good for a better result. Choose love over hate. Choose forgiveness over holding a grudge. Choose compassion versus apathy or lack of investing in someone. Choose service over just looking and non-participation. It's really easy, I think, in our society because of what's going on with all these people that have been killed by officers and the officers that have been killed also, how we really are at war with ourselves. You know, we don't have to think about terrorism on the outside. We have in-house terrorism right here in the United States. So I'm believing that all of these devastating events, horrific events, will remind us, as the president said yesterday or day before yesterday in a speech that I thought it was so well done. He said what I've said so often, and I love the way he said it, is that, if every officer would simply look at that person that they're about to shoot and think, that's my son or that's my daughter. And then every person who's going to shoot an officer or do something harmful against a peace officer think that, that could be my mom, that could be my father. What would I do then? So I think it's so important that at this juncture, at this fork in the road, that we really choose to be in the light, that we really choose good, that we really choose to be more loving and more kind. Why not? It's so easy. So again, from this show, the Dr. Levi Show, myself and the staff here, we send our heartfelt condolences to the officers that were slain and their families and other people that were hurt. And I want us to also look at the other side of the coin. We also send our condolences out to the family of the man that did the slaughtering, because don't forget, they also lost a son. So we have to be forgiving about that also. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. I know what he did could be considered evil and wicked, and yes, it was. However, we still have to look at the compendium of everything with more forgiveness, with a sense of love and compassion. So again, I feel for that family also that lost their son. And I feel more profoundly, of course, for those officers that were, the irony of this is that those officers were at a peace rally. They were there protecting people who wanted to march in peace for nonviolence issues. And they were slaughtered there. How it's just the irony of that is ineffable. That's the only word I can use for that. Yeah, ineffable. So I believe and hope that, one thing I want to say is I believe in humanity. I believe in humanity. I believe in the goodness of men and women on the earth. I believe that we all have a place in our hearts that's filled with love. I believe that we are all here for a greater purpose. I believe that we're here to live in an area and in a life of service, number one, forgiveness, number two, and number three, passion, and number four, authenticity. I think if you imbue yourself with passion and authenticity and honesty and love, forgiveness and service, I truly know that everything that you want in your life will come to pass. How could it not? Because you're living in it. You're believing in yourself. And it's really, again, life. It's not about what we're taking. It's about what we're giving back. It's about loving more, forgiving more, speaking to the people that don't speak to you, loving those crazy neighbors, those crazy neighbors who do those horrible things, those neighbors who are not very nice, those neighbors who've not been nice to you for 5, 10, 15, 19, 20 years. But you know what? Love them in spite of. Say hello to them in spite of. That's the key here. It's not, it's not fighting fire with fire. You do that, you get a bigger conflagration. However, if you fight fire with water, trust me, everything will go out. Everything will simmer down. Everything will titrate down to less than the drama that it is. But if you got neighbors that are crazy, and if they're crazy and you start doing crazy things back to them, well, guess what? Crazy begets more crazy. Well, you got more crazy. So those crazy neighbors, you may want to think about looking at them with more love and knowing that they're serving a greater purpose. Let me tell you what I had one neighbor where I used to live who was a very interesting person. I'll tell you about a deal that happened there. But what I want to say is our neighbors teach us like people do, like our teachers do. For example, we've all had really wonderful teachers, and we've also had those teachers that are nightmares. The great thing is that the good neighbors and the good teachers teach us how to be better people. The quote-unquote bad, I don't want to judge them, but I'll use that term now. The bad neighbors or the bad teachers, they teach us how not to act. They show us how not to treat other human beings. They show us how not to be that type of neighbor. So they show us a lot of good, and they don't even know it. I was thinking the other day about one of my instructors that I had during my training to become a physician, who treated me like crap. When I say like crap, there was nothing I could do. As much of a perfectionist as I am, there's nothing I could do with him or for our patients that was ever good enough. And I accepted that from him because I always knew that I wasn't the issue. He was the issue. He thought less about himself, so he wanted to make me feel less about myself. I wasn't going to let that happen. I felt good. So when he'd still say nasty, horrible things or cuss me out or do all these bad things, I would simply say 2 words, yes, sir. And I know it killed him. But you know what? It was better for him to feel that than for me to feel bad. I love feeling good. I love knowing that my life has value and that if I'm here to help people and to live a life of service, and if you're here to teach me and you're not doing that, well, that's okay. I'll get the education, I'll get the knowledge, just not from you. You teach me how not to be. So our neighbors teach us the same thing. So, and the bottom line here this morning about race relationships, though, is that we really have to look at everybody as ourselves. Their eye color, their sex, their sexuality, their gender, it's not your business. Period. It just ain't. And if you think about it like that, it's like easy. It's just like, okay, I can think about, think about this. There's so many things we can think about politics, about hunger issues, about homelessness issues, about how the veterans should be treated. But race, sex, gender identity, why should that be bothering anybody else? I truly don't see how people prioritize that. People should be treated, no matter what their race is, with love, no matter what their gender is, with respect, no matter what their sexuality is, with love and respect. I mean, why is that difficult? And I also want to say, too, that I think so often many people have lives that are so disenfranchised from the world or from their communities that they will find something to hate, someone to not like. They have nothing else to do but sit there, twiddle their thumbs, and think, what could I do to torment my neighbor of 19, 20 years? I can throw trash in the yard and bother the dogs. That's what I can do. They'll think of something to do just to irritate you. But the thing is, clean up the trash, don't say nothing, and just know that everything that they're doing to you, they think less of themselves, and they think that someone should do it to them, actually. Neighbors are funny. People are funny, just like family, funny institutions. So, again, this is a roundabout way of going back to the center of the heart circle here. Our engineer Jarvis, he knows a lot about hearts here. So heart is the real issue here. We want to go to the center. And the heart of this issue is really about love. It's really about forgiveness. And I'm hoping and believing that our communities will come together, white, black, red, brown, whatever your color is, whatever color you identify with. How's that? That you will really open your heart to look at other people as a simple reflection of yourself. And when you see someone, speak to them as if you're speaking to yourself. Respect them the way you want to be respected. It's not that difficult. It just isn't. So, again, so many tragic things from Orlando to Texas to Minnesota. I mean, you got all these extraordinary happenings of people being slaughtered, and we don't know the full story. Even when we see videotapes, we're not there. We don't know the angle of the video. We don't know what was said. We don't know it all. So I'm asking all of us to step back. Let's get all the facts. Let's not point the finger of judgment so quickly, because don't forget, when you're pointing one finger at other people, you have 3 pointing at yourself. So step back. Let's just breathe, be active, be advocates, be activists, but more importantly, also be nonviolent. That's my call. My call is a plan of action, a POA, and that POA is nonviolence. It's so important that we 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 change ourselves to change the milieu of where we live. If you change yourself, you can change the ambience where you live. If you change yourself, if you move the needle of your life from hatred to love, from from racism to acceptance, from judgment to non-judgment, as you move that needle, you can change the tenure of your life. You can change your life, but life in general won't change because change starts from within. You know, Mahatma Gandhi, he said it so well. Be the change that you want to see in the world. He said that. And I believe that. It's so extraordinarily true. Um, I, I don't want to be on a soapbox about this much longer, because I unfortunately I have the feeling that this conversation is going to continue for a long, long time, which is unfortunate. I'm hoping that the officers that were slaughtered, that their families will find solace in knowing that they did a great, great thing. They were protecting people, that they were officers, they were civil servants, that they were true heroes. And it's just, can you imagine how heartbreaking it is for your father to leave in the morning, you give him a hug, your mom to leave in the morning, you give her a hug, and then your mom or dad not come back that night? Can you imagine that? I cannot, you know. Having lost my dad and knowing that I value him more now that he's deceased than when he was alive, which is very ironic. I think it's so important for us to love and value the people in our lives, from our friends to our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our lovers, our wives, our husbands, to love those people, your sisters, your brothers, your aunts, your uncles, love them. Because as County Cullen said in the poem, I've always loved this, one day we'll meet for the very last time, but we will not know it. I've always thought there's great power in that because it reminds us to be kind to people. Because you may not be able to tell them tomorrow, hey, I'm sorry. Hey, I love you. Hey, I miss you. Hey, I was wrong. Hey, I apologize. You know what? You're right. You know what? I do love you. I do want to be with you. You know, you want to be able to say those things to people and not think, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda. Well, you didn't. You know, so we really want to, I think it's so important to take a snap shot of our lives and think about tomorrow. And think about tomorrow in the presence of now. What am I doing today to make tomorrow a better place? It's not difficult. Well, those are my baseline points here today. So I also want to talk today about diabetes. So a lot of health questions about diabetes and about carpal tunnel. I'm going to talk about it this week. Again, I'm going to talk about it next week also. Because I do want there to be some clarity about this issue, because diabetes affects over 26 million Americans, period, which is a lot of people. You know, there are two types of diabetes. Type 1, juvenile diabetes, which you're basically born with. And then there's type 2, which you can develop when your pancreas doesn't work as efficiently as it should and your body doesn't metabolize glucose as properly as it should. So, you know, diabetes is one of the number one causes in America for preventable blindness, for preventable amputations. It's one of the preventable issues with respect to eye disease, retinopathy. People who have diabetes will often present with the following. Number one, they'll often have great, great thirst. They will be urinating a lot. Sometimes they can feel very hungry even after they've eaten, and sometimes it can be just the opposite. I've had many patients who are just the opposite. They will have diabetes, but they're not hungry. But when they do eat, they want to really eat. They'll tell me they crave certain things sometimes, especially sugar. The other thing about diabetics, in time they can develop neuropathy in their hands and in their feet. That's why it's so important for diabetics to have their feet checked by their podiatrist or by their orthopedic surgeon. It's also, or their family practice healthcare provider. It's also important for diabetics to not walk around barefoot ever, because they can get something stuck in their foot, not feel it, becomes infected, develop gangrene or just a diabetic foot ulcer, which can lead to other things like amputation of a toe or their foot or below the knee amputation. So it's so important to be aware of that. Now, the other thing I want to say with diabetes, when if you're having problems like extreme thirst and urination, if you're feeling shaky, very fatigued sometime after eating, then it's important that you go and get checked. And how we check that now is with the following. We get a fasting blood sugar, our fasting blood glucose level, and we can also test something called the hemoglobin A1C. And it has reference values there, and I believe it's like 5.1 or 4.2. When it's higher than that, then you're in that diabetic range. However, your doctor, he or she, can also let you know if you're developing pre-diabetes. So now, with that talk about diabetes and how we test it and some of the things that someone will have with it, I want to revisit juvenile diabetes. Again, juvenile diabetes, someone is born with this, and their pancreas has never worked properly, basically. Now, type 2, you develop it. And the other issues that I want to say with diabetes, it's so important to, if you have any of these issues, to get it recognized and diagnosed quickly so that, one, you can get treatment, and two, do something about it. Now, well, what do you do about it? Let's talk about that. What's the action plan? What's the game plan about changing diabetes? Well, it's pretty focused. Number one, to lose weight. Number two, to be more fit. Number three, to eat properly. Number four, to really monitor your diet. 5, monitor your blood sugar. And 6, you have to have a goal of the following. What can I do to minimize the drugs that I'm taking? So if they start you on a anti-diabetic medication, such as metformin or glyburide or glibazide or insulin or Januvia, there's so many that I could name right now. If they start you on any of those, you have to have in your mind this working plan with your doctor to ask him or her the following. Okay, doctor, I'm gonna do what I can to lose weight. I'm gonna do what I can to control my sugar. You know, what's the plan for getting me off these medications? Because what you don't want to do is have a physician, for him or her to tell you, okay, we're going to start these medications, you'll be on them for the next 30, 50 years. That is not where you want to go. You want to go to this place of knowing that, okay, yes, I have diabetes. However, I'm going to do what I can to minimize its effect on my life. And secondly, I'm going to do what I can to have fewer medications. You know, I tell my patients all the time, you know, just recently I had a patient that came in, and she was really wonderful. She was 81 years old, and I was treating her for her carpal tunnel and her rheumatoid arthritis. She's so funny, just a fantastic patient. And so we were talking, and I hadn't seen her for a while. So when she came in, she came with her family, and I said, well, let's go over how you've been doing and how are your hands feeling. And so we talked about that, and she has this thing when we're talking. She says, okay, well, Dr. Levi, can I just give you a hug now? I said, sure. So she'll give me a hug, and we'll talk a little more. And I ask her some more things, and she said, yeah, but can I get my hug again? So I'll give her another hug. So we'll talk a little bit more. And then I always ask her this key question, and that is, and we've talked about everything. You've gotten your 2 hugs. Show me the bag. And then she starts laughing. I said, no, take it out. Show me the bag. And she starts laughing. I said, take out the medicine bag. I want to see. Now, the last time I saw her was maybe 4 months ago. She had about 27 medications in the bag. So I told her, I said, when you come back here, I want this bag to be half empty. And when I see you back in a few more months, I want whatever there, I want to be half of that. And so she always laughs. She's like, oh, you're going to kick my butt. And I said, you're exactly right. I'm going to kick your butt. I want to see the bag. So she pulled out the bag. So she'd gone from 27 down to 17. Now, that's good, but it's not enough. You got to think about it. 17 different medications in your body. Now, you have to think about this. All medication has the good response that you want, but it also has the contraindications, the things that you don't want. But the other thing, 17 medications, how do they interact with each other? That's the craziness of it. So she said, you're going to want one of your hugs back? I said, not yet. I said, you get one more shot. I said, when I see you back in a few months, I said, we got to look at this bag, and I want there to be 10 medications in there. And she just started laughing. She said, I don't know if I can do it. I said, I have faith in you. I believe you can do it, and I believe your doctor can do it. And I said, I want that to happen. And she said, you have your serious face on now. I said, I have my serious face on all the time. So when I talk to you, because if not, you're going to come in here and just want to hug and laugh and not get to business. And the business is, what can I do to help you with your hand issue? But more importantly, as a physician, as an orthopedist, I treat the whole person, not just their hand issues. I treat the whole body. So if you have diabetes, high cholesterol, if you're a smoker, if you have lung issues, then I treat all of that too, because you're coming to me for help. And my job is to be of professional, compassionate, loving service. So just like my patient I'm talking about, as I talk to her, so her job right now is to come in with 10 medications or less. And one thing she said I have to share with you, it was really funny. She said, well, what if I get it down to 11? I said, I want to see you when you get it down to 10. And she said, well, what about if I can't? I said, no, you can. I have faith in you. So, as a physician, it's so important that we, one, build a loving, trusting, fun relationship with the patient. But above that, one that's what I call more focused on health. That's what I am. Yes, I may be a friend of your family. Yes, I've taken care of you, your son, your daughter, your grandkids. Great. However, I may go to the family functions, to the weddings, to the bar mitzvahs, to the bar mitzvahs, to the quinceañeras. I may go. You invite me, I will show up. Yes. As your doctor, as a friend of the family, yes. But my primary concern is your health. How can I get you to live a life of quality? How can I get you to live a life that is whereby you wake up in the morning, you feel good, and not think about, oh my goodness, I'm up again, and now I have to take 27 medications. That doesn't work. So the goal here, of course, is quality of life, a long life, a happy life, a life of purpose, a life of passion, but more importantly, living the best life that you can live today. That's the goal. So we're going to be back momentarily. We're going to take about a minute break here. I just want you to know that this show, the Dr. Levi Show, is really about service. And it's a joy to be here. I'm grateful I have a phenomenal team with Janet and Jarvis and with Darren and with Tony and with Nick and with Aaron and with Jamie. I have a phenomenal team of people, and Rita and Adele Hodge, of people that really help to bring the show together and make this happen. So I say that because I think it's so important that we thank people that help us on the path. We don't do it by ourselves. So there's no one, not only in media, but in life, who can ever say that I did it by myself. It just doesn't happen that way. You may have done it tough and mainly been the person involved, but you didn't do it by yourself, because of the old adage that is so true, and that is, no man or woman is an island. We're not. We all need other people to thrive, to be better human beings. That's how we grow. That's how we change. That's how we expand our consciousness. And more importantly, that's how we become better people. That's the goal. What can I do to be a better person? Well, it's Dr. Levi. We'll be right back in a minute. I have like some major announcements for you. So I want you to be right at the edge of your seats here, because I can't wait to tell you where the show is going now. It's phenomenal. So this is Dr. Levi. We'll be right back in about 90 seconds or less. Hey everybody, Dr. Levi, welcome back to our show. Again, today is July 13th, 2016. Absolutely beautiful day here in LA. We're talking earlier about diabetes, and we're also talking about race relationships. We had a call from someone who wanted me to address something, and I was tentative about addressing this, but since the call was so intense, I think I have to. And it was the following. So she asked, what have I done to push myself to succeed as an African-American man here in the United States? And did I have any race issues when I was growing up in New Orleans? So let me tell you, as not only a black man, but as a black man, I had to deal with interracial racism also, meaning that often where I went to school, from my elementary school to my high school to even college and beyond, I've always had to deal with, and even in societal issues, even with dating, of being treated as not only a black man, but as a dark-skinned black man. So in my own race, I've had people that have discriminated against me for no reason, simply because of how my skin looks. They don't know me. They don't know about my what I call my brainwave activity, about my intelligence level or my IQ. They know nothing about that. Just because I am a black-skinned black man, I was treated inappropriately. And this has happened even now in my life, but now I call people on it. I let them know, nah, not today. I'm not that guy. So yes, I did. I did encounter a tremendous amount of racism in New Orleans growing up as a child, growing up in a single parent home with my extraordinary mother and with my sisters, my grandmother, my aunt. I was raised in a house with all women, so that was a great gift of itself. But it also gave me what I feel some incredible sensibilities about love and compassion and honesty and truth and hard work and work ethic. Not that I wouldn't have gotten that from having my father there, but he chose to not be there. So I don't know what I'd be like if I'd had a dad that was present. I just knew about my life as a man who didn't have a dad, and didn't have uncles that were really present. As I've said before, I had uncles and I had drunkles. I had both of those, and again, and having a father who was also a wife beater and a drug abuser and an alcoholic, it gave me an opportunity to really make choices in my life to treat women with greater respect, with greater love, with greater compassion, to love women and to love them intensely. So that's growing up in a home like that. I think it gave me those different sensitivities. High school to college, dealing with racism. I've always felt that how do you deal with racism? How you deal with any obstacle? Well, you either go around it, you go over it, you go under it, but you don't let it stop you. I always look at as an obstacle as like a rubber band that's being wound tighter and tighter and tighter. And finally, if I keep on going and going and getting through it, that rubber band snaps and it propels you even higher. It really increases the height and depth of your trajectory. So for myself, I've always felt that, when I was harassed as a kid, I can tell you about an incident when I was about maybe 12 or 13 years old. I was going to a dance at a high school. It's called Xavier Prep High School. I used to think they were the most beautiful girls there. And so I got there, and I was about 2 blocks away, actually. And I started running because I saw all these police cars coming this direction. I thought, God, what's going on? So I started running the opposite direction. About 30 seconds later, the cars were right behind me. So I stopped. So the cops, the police officers, they got out their cars and drew their weapons. Now, I'm a 12-year-old kid dressed to go to a dance at 8:30 at night. And one of the guys ran up on me, and he got right up on me with his billy club, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, son. You look like somebody else." He said, "Go on," and walked away. And I've never told my mother about that because I always thought as a kid, if I would have told her, one, she wouldn't let me go to any more dances. I thought that would have been over. And two, I'm grateful that he didn't strike me because most likely my head would be in a very different position. My face might be in a different position now too if I had survived the hit. So that was one experience. There's another one that I can think of that's even a little more pronounced. That I'll tell you about this. I'll share this with you. Is when I went to Notre Dame for college, I took the train up to college, so which was crazy when I look back at it, but I did. And I know why we did it. We did it because it was the cheapest way for me to get to school. So that's why I did it. And during the train ride, I was walking through the carts. That's all you could do, just walk through train by train. And I was walking through one of them, and I sat down next to a lady, and she was across from me you know how you can sit literally right across from someone? She was across from me, but just opposite to me. So I just sat there and had a book and I was going to read. And then I saw her that she was reading a book that I had read before. So I said to her, I said, "Oh, that's a great book." And so she looked up at me and she said, "You read?" So I started laughing. I said, "Yeah, yes, ma'am, I read books." I said, "Yes, ma'am, I read books." She said, "Wow, you guys are learning everything." So when she said it, for a second, I felt really, really badly for her. Not for me. I can read, I can write, I can do those things really well, thank God. I felt badly that she made an assumption that this man, and I don't know if she did it because I was a man of color or if she did it because I was a young man. I don't know. I know I was 17 at the time. But that was a changing point for me of how people can judge other people. Now, I had that happen often after that, but that was what I call a crescendo, an epiphany of how people can be so ignorant. But what I did is after she said that, I looked at her and I said, "Have you finished the book?" And she told me she had. And I said, well, you might want to read the next series. And she said, "You read that too?" I said, "Yes." So I went on and I talked to her anyway about it. And when we finished, she said, "I'm in Indiana also. We should get together." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "But I'm going to be in school. I'll be very, very busy." And I left that alone. But to this day, when I think about that, I always wonder, did I react appropriately? Did I educate her enough? Did I let her know that I always wondered, did I say enough about that? That's always bothered me. And that was, many years ago at 35 plus many years ago, but I wonder about that. Yeah. Did I say enough? So my goal when it comes to race relationships is to do one thing: succeed, to be active, to be an advocate, to be of service, to get as much education as I can, to teach, and to help any community that I can help. Period. That's my joy in life: service and helping others. When it comes to helping others, we have a lot of big things coming up. So I want to tell you some good news. So this weekend, we'll be shooting some new fitness videos for gamers and for musicians about the health of their hands, their posture, upper extremity. So I'm happy about that. The other great thing, this is my little drum roll here, is that our show was picked up by iHeartRadio. So I'm really, really, really happy about that, I'm hoping that it will be an opportunity to really reach many people, to be of service, to answer questions about health and happiness, and more importantly, to give people a greater understanding that the choices that you make strategically will have a strategic impact on your life, because every choice comes with a consequence. So be aware of what you choose. So I'm excited about that. Also, our YouTube channel continues to grow. We're up to close to, I believe now, 19,500, I think. I think we're rapidly approaching 20,000, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm really happy about it. Our goal, of course, as we started this, is to get 1.5 million. That's my goal. Now, I can tell you this: if my goal is 1.5 million, I know for sure we'll surpass that by at least 2 to 3 million. That I know easily. It's all happening because it's all growing organically and honestly and authentically. So I'm really happy about that. Thanks for all your messages on the messages on Facebook and Twitter. I'll be answering more of those this week and this weekend because I'm back on the grid now. And also, CNN, I'll be doing a deal with CNN coming up, so I'm happy about that, with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the great and amazing author and phenomenal medical advisor to CNN, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, whom I truly respect. And we also have some things we're working on with XM Radio and with Machinima. So just a lot on the grid right now. And one thing I'm going to try to do, I'm going to find out if we can maybe do some type of show from Comic-Con, because Comic-Con is going to be here in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd like to do something there, because I'm a big, I'm a real nerd. I got to tell you, I'm a nerd. I have to share this with you. I was in a restaurant last week, and I had a shirt on that had on it, "Bonafide official nerd. And I've only worn the shirt once. So a lady came up to me, she said, and this was so funny. I just looked at her and said, well, thank you very much. So I had the shirt on, and I said, how you doing? She kept staring at me, and she said, I like that shirt. I said, oh, well, thanks. She said, you make nerd look sexy. I just started laughing. I thought, I'm everything but sexy. I'm a nerd. So I thought that was really, really funny. So if nerd is the new sexy, well, that's a good thing, I guess. But I thought that was really, really funny. So I got to wear that shirt more often, I guess. I might get more dates. Who knows? Well, I want to tell you that I want to thank you all for being a part of our show today. I also want to give a big shout out to Glen Oaks Imaging in Glendale. They're a premier MRI and imaging center here in Southern California. They're phenomenal people there. Andre and his incredible team and crew of people. I just really thank them for taking such great care of all of the patients that we send there, because their MRIs, the films, the CTs, everything is done with such exceptional professionalism. So Andre and Glen Oaks Imaging, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, this is Dr. Levi. I want to thank everyone for being a part of the show. I want to let you know, of course, that our show is about you. So today I felt like I talked about myself too much. So next week will be hopefully one of our first shows to go straight to iHeartRadio. So we'll talk more about diabetes. I'll talk about carpal tunnel. I'll talk about some gaming issues. And then I'll talk about the new things that we have coming up for you. So a lot on the horizon. So this is Dr. Levi with your show, the Dr. Levi Show. Have a great, great week. I want to thank our engineer, the amazing Jarvis, my phenomenal manager, Ms. Janet Rodriguez, and the owner of UBN Radio, of course, Tony, and of course, all of the assistant help that we have with Darren, with Jamie, and with Aaron. And with Nick and Adele and Rita. The show is a team effect. So I'm really, really grateful. And I'm grateful for my office, too, to Jessica and to to Jessica and to Arlene and to Sabrina. I want to say thank you all very much, too. This is Dr. Levi. Have a great day. Bye.